Hey everybody, it's BJ,
And Patrick.
and we're back talking about real estate and what's going on the island, and in a greater picture, I guess BC, and how that affects us and how that affects anybody that's watching. So we spent some time talking about some of the changes the government has made to the Strata Act. For those of you that don't know, the government made changes to age restrictions, so essentially removing age restrictions so that a strata can't, unless they're 55 and over, a strata can't have a restriction anymore, let's say, 19 plus or something like that, right?
Yeah, anything that's not 55 plus, yeah.
Yeah, so which stratas used to have that ability, they no longer do. And the act was also amended to remove rental restrictions, and we want to talk about that today. And maybe let's just start with that. Just what the changes were to the act.
Right, and we'll do our best not to get carried away with the age restrictions and other things like that. So we're sticking to rentals this time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the way it goes. Sometimes other things will dominate.
Sure.
What's on our minds, what
Right.
we think we should be concerned about.
Sure.
But rental restrictions, removing that from the Strata Property Act. That's, I think in a lot of ways, I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
I think it opens up potential buyers for places that had age restrictions or age rental restrictions.
Right.
I've probably had more clients ask me, well, how many rentals are in that building? Like, I want to have the ability, possibly, if I have to move for work, I want to keep this condo, keep this townhouse, or they want to keep the house. Maybe they're moving up and out of that place,
Right.
and thinking about keeping their place as a rental instead of selling it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically the announcement that was made, where stratas used to be able to control whether it was the number of rentals, to have a specific number of rental units in the building, to have no rentals or whatever it might be. That's all been removed, and so that now any strata is going to be rentable. Any unit in the strata is going to be rentable, which I agree with you. I think that's a good idea. If you're talking about helping the housing market and I think in part the rental market, because there should be some overflow to the rental market as well, right?
I would suspect so, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that certainly is good. I go back to decisions being made without due process or debate or just the whole consideration of everything. Now understand, I think it's a good idea, but I'm talking about the process of how we got here. Which I think we just need to be aware. There should have been some more. I think just the consultation in the process, right?
Well, this reminds me of like when we got HST.
Right.
Like the delivery, like it's probably good in a lot of ways, but the delivery was just like, here it is, that we're doing HST now. So that was a combination of provincial and federal tax, right?
Yeah.
Harmonized tax. So it didn't go over well, and then it got removed later. I don't remember, it's all kind of history right now, but
Sure.
like it reminds me of that. Like,
Sure.
we're gonna, even if it's a good idea, we're gonna blast it onto you without making you aware of it,
Right.
doing any consultation,
Yeah.
maybe warm up to the idea with some announcements over the months, and then it's here now. Because now I think the result is people are going to react in a certain way.
Sure.
Because, oh, well, wait a minute, I bought a place with no renters or limited renters, and I don't want to put up with tenants. So I think there's going to be some growing pains.
Yes. Sure.
As a result.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, there's going to be part of it. I think the one thing to bring up too is we may call it unrestricted rentals, but really we can say it this way: the strata doesn't have the ability to limit the rentals, but the strata still has to operate under the bylaws of the municipality. So that's where we talk about short-term rentals and things like that, where there's a limit in a lot of areas that you can't I don't know, 30 days, 60 days, those, it's gotta be rentals have to be over whatever period of time. That's not going away, right?
No, unless the building was the strata building was specifically built on purpose to accommodate short-term rentals.
Right, in which case they would have put it where the municipality allowed for it to be.
It would have the zoning, it would be the intended use.
Right.
So if it's not the intended use to have short-term rentals in it, and it's just a residential property,
Right.
it's just a multi-family property, a condo building, townhouse,
Sure.
whatever the example might be,
Yeah.
then that's its intended use,
Right.
not short-term rentals.
Right.
So that's already in the Strata Property Act.
Yeah. So essentially, is it completely unrestricted rentals? Well, that's the part to understand. It's not just based on the bylaws of the municipality and the zoning and things like that. However, in the bigger picture of things, where a building may have had, limited number of rentals, now it's unlimited rentals. A building that was no rentals is now unlimited rentals.
Right.
Yeah.
Not meaning you can rent it out for a week at a time, or a day at a time, a weekend at a time.
Sure.
That's still, you have to act according to whatever the city bylaws and the condo's own bylaws. If they put any extra language in their bylaws about restricting that, which I've seen many of them do, even though it's sort of it's redundant to what's already in the Strata Property Act in many ways.
Sure.
So,
And it just makes me think of clients over the years that have said, well, I want to buy, they're buying a condo, and their question to me is, what about rentals? Because their thought is, well, they don't want to rent it out, but if something were to come up and let's say they're transferred out of town or something like that, they want the option to be able to rent it out versus
Same
I have
here.
to sell it, right?
Same here. So many clients want that flexibility.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
just in case.
Yeah. So I think overall it's going to be a positive from a buyer's point of view.
Yeah.
I don't know how all the stratas are going to feel about it.
I'm sure it's going to be mixed feelings, right? Like there's all kinds of people, all kinds of opinions, backgrounds. So we'll see as time goes by how people will react to that. But there's two more things that affect rentals that they changed in the amendment,
Okay.
which is not normally covered. So you have to actually go through and read the bill. So this one I've seen written about in articles. So the bill's going to the Strata amendment will allow the Strata to take tenants that give them trouble
Okay.
to court.
Okay.
The residential tenant branch office, that court.
Okay. So
it kind of like if you're an absentee landlord, or you don't care what your tenants are doing, but they pay the rent, but they're a nuisance, and they go into, or they break any sort of rules over and over and over again of the Strata,
right.
then the Strata they have the ability, they have the authority to take those troubled tenants to court.
Okay.
So how do you like that? So even though it's opened the doors to rentals, it's given some power back to the Strata to
Right.
at least take control of that,
Right.
if necessary. I don't know if that's a burden that the Strata wants to take on. The Stratas are a volunteer organization.
Yeah. And there's
right?
an expense associated with that too, right?
Right. So even if you take somebody to court, you still have to collect
Right.
at the end of it.
Right.
So maybe those damages come from the landlord, but you're taking the tenant to court. I haven't quite figured that part out yet. And
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer,
Yeah.
but I want to understand how that works,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So that was one thing that's not normally talked about. The second thing is the Strata Property Act amendment also made the Strata is not obligated to disclose to the owner or purchasers how many rentals there are. What do you think about that?
Well, wow.
I got you with that one.
Yeah, well, because, I'm thinking about this. Okay, so
I'm the nerd that read the whole thing.
see, The deal for me is when I lay down, I go to sleep immediately. So I don't have insomnia where I need, to read something like that to help me get off to sleep. But coming back to what we're talking about, that's very interesting because, over the years I've had clients ask also, how many rentals are in this building? Because they feel like there's a different level of care and attention when an owner lives in it versus when a renter lives in it.
Oh yeah, this is pretty common, yeah.
Right? So, boy.
Okay, so...
I gotta chew on that one a little bit.
So that doesn't mean stratas will hide the information.
Sure.
But they're no longer obligated to give that information.
Right.
And from all my years of experience, training, how to do your job right, best practices, if there's something that you think might be an issue, disclose it.
Right.
Disclose it, no matter what, and then let other people make their own decisions on that.
Right.
You got your butt covered.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. So to even imply that you don't have to disclose something that's should be pretty normal information, I think, to share.
Yeah.
It seems a little counterintuitive to the consumer protection that's being talked about when buying homes or selling homes.
Interesting.
Maybe we'll talk more about that next time,
gotta,
right?
I gotta really chew on that one. That one's, I got the, what do I think about it? And, yeah.
I don't think anybody's gonna follow it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's in there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, that one's one I'm gonna definitely have to think about, because I can see the pros and cons. And, if you as a buyer know now, every strata that you look at is unrestricted rentals. Do you even care?
Do you just accept the fact that there's going to be tenants?
Right.
But so if you buy a new building, there's no rental restrictions already.
Right.
You buy into new, you're starting off.
Right.
That's why some of the older buildings, they had an opportunity. The people were like, okay, we don't want any rentals anymore. We have 75%. People that are going to vote against it, and they're going to limit it, whatever, right? But they all started out with no rental restrictions.
At some point, yeah.
So it goes down to, well, why hide it? Because think about it, when you start digging into the strata minutes, the bylaws, there's going to be indications. Either there's going to be complaints of troubled tenants, noise complaints, or whatever the case may be, or damage.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to be able to hide it if they don't want to disclose it. It's called a Form B. That's where you would say how many rentals are in the building.
Yeah.
So really, I'm not sure. I hope somebody else who knows more than me can explain why that's there.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't see the benefit of giving the option that they can hide it.
Yeah, I mean, as I think about it, it's kind
The
of
condos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, it's kind of a throwaway almost, right? Like, oh yeah, well, we're doing this. Let's throw this in there too. We're gonna change the act. Let's just do this too.
Well, then what's the point of doing that extra work, right? Unless there's a purpose for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just the way I think.
Yeah.
Why do we change things if they don't affect anything? Oh, wait a minute. We can talk about all sorts of policies that don't seem
right.
Sorry, I let that completely slip.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting as the months go into 2023 what the real estate market's going to look like in BC with these changes and how things are going to, how people are going to deal with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a condo buyer, townhouse buyer, strata, if it's a strata, Bearland strata, all of those properties will be affected by this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've gone over time today, but thank you for being with us. We are, we're enjoying our time getting to talk about what's happening in the world of real estate, and appreciate you watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Like the video. If you have any questions or anything you would like to, have us comment on, just put it in the comments. Certainly you can reach out to us directly, and we're happy to answer any of your questions, but thanks for watching. We'll and for us, we're also getting close to Christmas, so not sure when you're going to see this, but so just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. I know that dates this a little bit, but that's fine. It's always good to hear Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas and have a great New Year, everybody.
Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
See ya.